First of all, just to paint a picture, this FinTech Galaxy API Sandbox was built really to serve as a platform where regulators can collaborate with banks and fintechs and other financial institutions. So it's really a sandbox environment to mimic the live environment with a real-world persistent data model, complete with constraints. In fact, we've gone the extra mile of building 5 data sets to mimic the local data for 5 countries: Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE, Egypt, and Bahrain. You don't normally see that in a typical sandbox because typically the data that mimics this real-life data is general, and it doesn't really allow you to build hyper-tailored solutions to the environment you're in. What's very important to note is our vision is that this sandbox connects globally, and by doing that, we can allow fintechs from across the globe to start to collaborate with the Arab world within those 22 countries. Now, I'll highlight just a few quick traits about the Open API Sandbox. One, it really allows you to innovate now. And what I mean by that is the standards on which it's built are those that are the open banking standards, PSD2. They have the Berlin standards. They have the French standards. So regardless of the type of standards and the country you're in, and if whatever standard you're following, you can connect to that. So as an example, in Bahrain, they use the UK standards, so we can easily switch to the UK API protocols, and then you could use that. And it allows you to test, learn, and adapt in real time, both for the fintechs and the financial institutions. Another point is it's a safe test environment. So you get really the full stack of banking functionality, including accounts, transactions, payments, ATM, KYC, even video conferencing. And because you have synthesized data, you can actually build solutions that solve real-life problems, and you can validate them within the platform. The third point is about rapid deployment and the ability to do that with scale. You see, the platform is cloud-based, and as a result, it has everything is built in the form of microservices, so you can easily slice and dice your solution however you want. And as I mentioned earlier, it is built with compatibility with a few open banking standards from across the globe. So regardless of which standard you follow, you can build a solution that scales. After that, I'll point out the concept of fintech as a service. You see, when you connect financial institutions through one universal API with standard specs and standard protocol, then these financial institutions and these banks can use the APIs that are either in the sandbox, or if there are APIs developed by these external third parties, i.e. the fintechs, they also get added to the API gateway. So as a result, you can start to leverage some of the APIs that were developed by the fintechs, let's say, that are in the hackathons, or even when you push beyond this phase and you start to commercialize. The other thing, and the last thing I'll point out is, or the second last thing, is the sandbox is built in a way that it can also be offered as a SaaS solution. So even the banks themselves, when they connect to it, they can expose some of their own APIs, allowing fintechs to consume these APIs when they're building their solutions. Now, again, the platform at this stage is just really focused as a testing environment, but in the future, and when this scales, this can become a very valuable capability for banks, because banks can start to monetize their own APIs when leveraged by external third-party fintechs. The last point is regarding the expert support. There is no point in launching, an amazing open API platform that doesn't have the appropriate support. So we have a team that is dedicated to supporting the sandbox, not to mention that even the environment itself in which it's built has an open developer forum that's connected to over 11,000 developers and fintechs from across the globe. So really you get access to an ocean of innovative minds. And in fact, we have one of our partners who is part of the team, the Open Banking project, that fuels the Fintech Galaxy Open API Sandbox. Elena is with us today, and I'd like to ask her to join right now and just give us a few points regarding the Open Banking project and the FinX22 Open API platform. Elena, you can go ahead.
Hi everyone, Elena here from Tisobi. We are the company behind the Open Bank project. Many thanks for inviting me to talk about the Fintech Galaxy API Sandbox. The Open Bank project is the leading open source API platform in financial services and served as the inspiration for the UK Open Bank standard regulation back in 2014. In the years since, Open Bank project software has been used extensively to address a global range of open banking standards and frameworks from UK to Mexico. Our tech can be used by BNP Paribas, Santander, HSBC, Societe Generale, UniCredit, and more. Also, we do have more than 11,000 active fintechs around the world who are already using Open Bank project APIs and are eager to partner with banks.
Thank you, Elena. Could you walk us through the journey that fintechs would go through to actually onboard on the platform and start using it, or even financial institutions for that matter?
Yeah, sure. So this, what we look at the screen now, is the main point of entry where users discover the platform. The API portal and the overall user experience have been thought from a developer perspective. Once the visitor is interested, he or she can create an account on the platform by clicking on the sign up button to get an API key. They can also find out more about the available APIs on the platform, the SDKs, and how to get support if they find some problem. What we see now is the API Explorer. This is the interactive documentation where users can see listed all the API endpoints available on this instance and can test from here. In this instance, we have more than 300 banking APIs, which are ranging from APIs to access to accounts, transaction, payment initiation, know your customer, metadata management, card management, and etc. So each of these API endpoint is well documented and can be tested using various REST clients, Open Bank Project API Tester, or Open Bank Project API Explorer. For more info, we will host a technical webinar on July the 20th, where we will give concrete insights how to use the sandbox environment, and we will demonstrate some key features.
You know, one of the things I love about this is the fact that this is not limited to fintechs, but even banks, their own developers can actually go in and access, and they can start to innovate. I have one more question for you, Elena, which is regarding how secure the platform is.
Yeah, so this platform provides the means for strong customer authentication, SCA, to identify bank customers. Third-party partners can only access resources where consent has been given. It relies on industry standards like OAuth 1.0, OAuth 2.0, OpenID, advanced security policies, user federation, central logging, and integration with identity providers. It also, the CAA server provides means to do two-factor authentication. Thanks.